السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Inshallah, we'll begin. This is our third meeting. Today's topic is another very important topic, which is raising the parents before raising the children. What does this imply exactly? This is about before the parents start parenting their own children, sometimes we have deficiencies ourselves. And paying attention to these problems and these issues that we have, fixing them before reaching out the children would go a long way, because a lot of times we tend to blame the children for some of the behavior issues or some of their path that they end up choosing and so on. But some of these issues goes back to us. We are the causes of it because we didn't understand what we're doing, or because we have misguided them, unintentionally misguided them. So that's what we're gonna. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's what we're gonna talk about today, inshallah. So let's first understand something, get something very clear, which is a parent is a da'i, or a da'iyah, is a caller to something. We're not saying just a caller to Islam alone, but a caller to a path, right? And defining this like that makes us understand it a little bit better. Like, we're supposed to be callers to a specific path. And the caller, a da'i, and caller to Islam specifically, a person must have a specific characteristics that makes that person qualified to call people, or makes that person good enough to call people, or makes the da'wah of this person or the call of this person successful, right? And some of these things, as we were taught through the prophets and in the Quran and Sunnah and so on. That's what made the prophets great at what they did, because they were callers, right? So the parents are, supposed to be callers. They are callers, but what are they calling to? What are they calling to? Looking at this before we get into these essential things for the caller, the children are like a tree, a plant. And every tree or every plant goes through stages. We talked about the stage of parenting in the first meeting that we had. So they go through stages. So there is the stage of the planting, putting the seed into the ground and watering it and caring for it and so on, give it the proper lighting and so on and so forth. The growing of the plant until the plant reaches potential, and then you can get the fruits of this plant. And the fruits of the plant, or the fruits of the children, shows up on the day they hit puberty, for the most part, right? This is when the parent actually start to find out what they've been doing for the past 12 years or 13 years. Did it pay off or did it not pay off? And a lot of parents come to become surprised. It's like, how come my kid is corrupted? My kid is 15 and the kid is questioning the existence of God. How did this happen? Well, how did you get here? What were you watering this whole time? What seed did you plant? What seed did you put in? Right? Did you put a corrupted water? No good water. Is that what you were feeding? This seed, this child. What were you allowing to enter the child's mind? Because you were in control of everything as a parent. So what did you do there? So again, this is why the caller, the da'i, needs to have specific characteristics to this individual to be able to call to the right way, to the correct path. Okay, so let's take a look at some of them, and inshallah we're going to discuss them in details. The order doesn't really matter. I put them in like this, but the order doesn't really matter. There are obviously some more essentials than other, like knowledge, for example. Okay, so one of them is knowledge, and we're going to discuss that in details. Of course, a da'i without knowledge, what he's calling to, that's nothing, right? And we're going to discuss this in details. Having the right perspective about life, about this world, about things. What are we supposed to do here? As a parent, sometimes a parent have things a bit twisted. What are they supposed to do in life? They have wrong understanding of the world at large. And if that's the case, what are you going to be feeding your kids, right? I'm not talking about food. I mean, like, their mind. Having wisdom, right? When do I let things go, and when do I, be strict on things? This is wisdom, right? Having patience, extremely important, right? As a caller, every caller is going to be let down by the people who's calling. They're not going to respond. They're not going to listen. That's a normal thing. But you need patience to survive this, gentleness, right? Sometimes a caller might be, he tend to take the harsh way and thinks this is the right way to go about things, right? Is to be harsh. So gentleness. And again, all this is, we're going to look at it from the Quran and Sunnah perspective and Islam and so on. Okay, practice what you preach. That's another big issue, right? Because this has to do with the mannerism of the caller himself or herself. If I'm not practicing what I'm preaching to that kid, this child, how is the child going to listen to me? Right. So again, this is all starting with me. I'm raising my own self or fixing my own self before trying to fix my own child. Right. Perfecting the manners, or even paying attention to, is manners important? My mannerism important? Absolutely. Right. As a caller, is my mannerism important? Absolutely is important. Humbleness. Again, another crucial thing that can push the person away from the call you're trying to call for. So let's talk about the first one. Knowledge. How important is this? And this is the main dilemma, actually, of why we are what we are today, as far as we as peoples, as the Muslims. If you ask a Muslim today, like so many of basic things in Islam, they don't know. A lot of things they don't know. Basic things in acts of worship or belief even. I had, this is real story. I had a mom that had children, right? 2. To be exact, and I was their teacher. And these kids were placed in a Catholic school, and these kids were Catholics. The priests have worked on them to make them into Catholics. And they have successfully became Catholics. They were Catholics through that school, even though they had a Muhammad name and a Muslim names, lived in a Muslim household, but that's what they believed in. And guess what was the mama's way of convincing the kids why they should be Muslims? She said that you should be Muslims because your parents are Muslims. That's literally why you need to be Muslim. That's it. This is the only argument. As if we don't have anything. We don't have no proof on Islam. We have nothing. But this mom herself doesn't know how is Islam the truth. The mom herself doesn't know. So how is she going to convince the kid about that Islam is the truth? So does she need knowledge? Absolutely. I cannot tell you like how many times I was involved in giving dawah in colleges, and giving that. So we set up a dawah table, and then students pass by to come learn about Islam and so on. And as they come to learn about Islam, one of the things that they would do, the students, the girls in the college would do a try on hijab. So they will have the women or the girls there try on hijab and look in the mirror, take selfies and so on. And sometimes these Muslim girls would be asked by the non-Muslims, why do you wear hijab? That's a question girls get it all the time. Guess what the girls answer? Say, I don't know, ask him. Talking about me, ask him. Ask him why I wear hijab. Now, there is a problem here. When these parents, the parents of this girl, made her wear hijab or told her you should wear hijab, what did you tell her? How did you sell it out to her? What was the motive? Do you have specific reasons why you were telling her the wisdom of hijab? What about praying? Parents tell the kids, pray. Praying is good. But do you have specific wisdoms and reasons and things behind it? Do you have wisdoms why there is a God? Do you have specific reasons to prove that there is a God for a kid who's questioning that there is a God? Or do you do what many parents would do with the kid who's questioning the existence of God because he's going to school and he's getting confused? It's like, don't ask questions like that. How could you? This is forbidden, haram for you to ask this. And again, what is the problem? The problem is we don't know. We don't know. So knowledge is one of the most crucial things that we are dealing with here is and this is, I would put this one to be the first for any caller. The rest of the stuff doesn't really have a specific order. They're all important, but this one is really the base, the knowledge. You need it before anything else. You can't call without having knowledge. And something that about the Muslims today is women are oppressed. This is true, but not oppressed by Islam, but oppressed by the Muslims. What do I mean by this? They don't have access to knowledge as men have, right? And that's why knowledge of women about Islam have decreased like crazy. And this is the cause, one of the causes, one of the main causes of the dilemma of the Muslims at large, because every person in the world is a product of a woman, right? They are the most essentials to the whole planet, really. They are the creators of societies. So their lack of knowledge equals the lack of knowledge of their children, equals a corrupted society, and the cycle goes on and on. So this is why I say women are oppressed by the Muslims today, by the Islamic institutions today. This is a fact, right? But we could do something about it. We could do something about it. It doesn't have to stay like that. What about perspective? So this is about the knowledge. Let's talk about perspective, having a correct perspective about the world. And again, this is kind of ties into the knowledge as well. Many of the parents, their goal in life is what? I want my kid to have a good job, good career, to marry a good girl that I approve, and to have a house and to have a nice, lively world. That's the ultimate goal of me as a parent. That's really what it comes down to. Did you go to a nice college? Did you graduate from the nice college? Did you make the nice money? Did you get the nice career? Were you successful in your marriage and have kids? This kind of thing. That's basically the ultimate goal. And this just tells you something is wrong with these parents, because that's not the goal at all. If your kid have failed in life, as far as like to the people, failed in everything in life, did not get the nice career, did not get the nice education, did not get any of these things, but was able to be successful at his test in this world, this is the ultimate success. As Allah mentioned to us in so many places, that this world is insignificant and it means nothing. It means nothing, right? And he says that this world, all of it at large, right, it doesn't even weight with Allah as a wing of a mosquito. It's not even worth a wing of a mosquito. So it's completely useless. It doesn't mean anything, this whole world. So that's how Allah views this this world. It's nothing. So how are we given weight to it like this? And we're not saying go dig a grave and lay there, wait to die. We're not saying that, but we're saying the right perspective about this is that dunya, this world, the worldly life, is a means, not a goal. The goal is the hereafter, and this world is a stick that I use to get to the next world, but it's not the goal. It's not my destination. So therefore, are you feeding your kids that? Is that what you're feeding your kids? Or are you feeding your kid, I need you to be a doctor? Everything we're doing is about the doctor thing that we're working towards. And then the kid, he understands this from you, the money, the career, the this, the that. So religion is pushed aside by him, because it was pushed aside by you. So do you have the right perspective before you even call him to things? Do I know what success really means? Because my success that I want is dunya success. So if you have a lot of money and you have a nice career, but you don't pray, it's okay. You know why? Because you're going to pray soon, even though prayer takes you out of Islam, but that's okay, because you're going to pray soon. You can pray later, you can pray. But if you don't have money now, how are you going to not have money later on? This is just your doom. So again, having the right perspective on things, understanding the meaning of life. As Allah tells us in the Quran that this world, right, this entire world, we're created to worship. And again, if you go ask any Muslim, why are you here? So I'm here for a test. But where are you going? All I'm worried about, my goal in life is a career, and this world is my goal. But you just told me that you're here to worship and you're here for a test, but your actions are not saying that. It doesn't look like this world is means to you. It looks like it's a goal. Yes, I've been raised like that. I've been raised to take this life as a goal, not a mean. So again, the problem is with the parent. We need to change the perspective. How are we seeing this world? And how are we seeing things? What is the value? What is the priorities? Which one comes on the top of the list? And by the way, the Prophet ﷺ told us this. He told us what? That the person who works for the hereafter, Allah gives him the dunya. The dunya runs after this guy, right? But the one who runs after the dunya, this world, right? It doesn't get any part of the hereafter. There's no share for him in the hereafter. So really, the true success is the success of the hereafter. The Prophet ﷺ used to say, Allahumma la aisha illa aisha al-akhirah. Oh Allah, there is no life, there is no true life except the life of the hereafter. That was his perspective on things. Allah said in the Quran, you want a worldly life, and Allah wants the hereafter. And again, that doesn't mean like, oh, don't eat. That's what I'm saying. Don't eat, don't drink, don't get married, don't get a job. We're not saying any of this stuff, but get a job and get married and eat and drink and do all the cool stuff. But use this as a mean, not a goal. The goal is the hereafter, is to eat in Jannah, drink in Jannah, and get married in Jannah. That's the goal. But this world is a mean to get to my goal. This is how this should be viewed. But again, is that what we viewing things? As the children getting this from you? Because if they're not, something is wrong and it needs to be changed. Okay. Let's talk about wisdom. And this is very important. Sometimes it is the right thing to do is to not do the right thing. Again, sometimes the right thing to do is to not do the right thing. Let me explain. The Prophet ﷺ, when he entered Mecca, he used to live in Mecca before, left, went to Medina, right? Exiled. Okay, now he came back to Mecca. And when Mecca is now Muslim, a Muslim city, but they just entered Islam. These Mecca people just entered Islam. The Prophet ﷺ, speaking to his wife Aisha, he said, if it wasn't for the fact that the people of Mecca are new to Islam, I would have destroyed the Kaaba or took the Kaaba down and rebuilt it upon the foundations of Ibrahim. Now, Kaaba originally, the way Prophet Ibrahim built it, is a rectangle, not a square. You see the square that you see now? That's not the Kaaba. Originally, it was a rectangle. Okay, and that's why you see the little half a circle thing that's in front of the Kaaba, because this part of the Kaaba, this place is part of the Kaaba. So the Prophet ﷺ wanted to rebuild the Kaaba the way it was, rectangle. He said, I'm not going to do that because these people are new to Islam. If I do this, it's going to make them go crazy. So I'm not going to do it yet, right? I'm not going to do it. And he died without doing it. Is rebuilding the Kaaba the way Prophet Ibrahim built it, is this the right thing? It is. But did he do it? He didn't do it. Why? Because it is a bigger goal. Should you sometimes looking the other way on some things with your kid because you have a specific goal is the right thing to do? Like, I'll give you an example of me when I'm teaching my classes, especially when it comes to like the older students, not the younger ones, especially to the older ones, because these are the sophisticated guys, and they have like they're a lot more intellectual than the younger ones. When they sometimes I see them doing wrong things in my class. They do wrong things, okay, violating Islamic code of conduct, and I will not speak about it. I will not address them at all. Why? Why you might think I will not address them at all? Because I have a bigger plan. I'm going to get to them, so I'm making a plan, a long-term plan. We're going to speak later about this. This issue is going to come later, because the thing that I'm looking to get out of my school year, like as a teacher, and it should be for you as a parent, is to gain their trust. I have a plan. I have an actual plan. I need to gain their trust first, and they need to feel like I'm on their side first before I can call them to anything. Do you understand? A lot of times, your children are feeling that you are on a different side. They are on the children's side, and you are on the adult side, the opposite side, against them side. Okay? And if you're not feeling this with your young children now, this is definitely going to be inevitable when you deal with them, in the future, when they get a little bit older. But this is always the case. There is always a parent side, and I can tell you this again from a teacher perspective. There is a parent side and there is a kid side. Me, I'm always on the kid side. What do I mean? But I want to make the kids feel. I understand clearly, of course, the parent side and the concerns and so on. The parents really don't understand the kids, don't speak the language, and sometimes don't even care to understand the kids. It's like, hey, it's like this, you got to do it like this, it's done. Why are you not doing it like this? When I was a kid, we used to not have such and such and such. You need to be like me when I was a kid. Yeah, but your kid is not like you when you were a kid. Do you understand? Your kid is from a different world. You are from one world. Your kid is from a whole different planet, a whole different world. You need to understand this. So you need to raise him in his own world, not in yours. This is a lot of times. Again, comes back to the wisdom. How are you dealing with things? Right? You need to be wise, thinking, make a plan. Don't just yell. Something is going wrong. I'm yelling. I have to address it right now. Sometimes it's not wise to address it right now. Address it later. Address it later. That's better sometimes. Or some things need to be addressed right away. So it depends. You need to have wisdom and you need to have a plan. This was the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the prophets behind them. And that's what Allah commanded in the Quran. Call to the people with wisdom. With wisdom. Okay. Having patience is extremely important. Having patience is extremely important. Being open, you know. Would your child be able to come and tell you, hey, I like this girl or I like this boy in school. I saw this boy and I really have a crush on this boy or this girl. Or for example, I'm really not sure if Islam is the truth. I'm feeling something in my heart. I don't think Islam is the truth. I've been thinking a lot lately about the existence of God, things of that sort. Will the kid come and tell you these things? Will the kid, is the child able to come and speak about things like that with you? Maybe not, right? Most of the time, it's not the case. Why? They don't see this openness between you and them. There's no open dialogue. They can't trust you with things, right? They can't trust you with things. And that's why I was telling you, earning the trust first, okay? And one of the ways is having patience. Or one of the important things is having patience. What does that mean? Your child did a mistake. What do? Okay, you corrected them. They fixed it. They said, we're not going to do it again. We did it again. What do you do now? Give them another chance. Okay, I did it again. What do you do now? Give them another chance. What do you do now? They messed up again. Give them another chance. Just keep giving chances. You need to be a patient individual. When you hear about Prophet Nuh calling people to 950 years, he's calling people to Islam for 950 years. We're not talking about he lived for 950 years. No, he's given da'wah as an adult for 950 years. And people to the point, they hate everything he's saying to the point that they're putting their fingers in their ears. They don't want to listen to him. So could you imagine your own kids don't want to listen to you to the point that they're like, mom, go away. I don't want to listen to you anymore. That kind of thing. How would you feel? You're like, I'm done. I've already tried. We're done with them. No, we're going to try again and again and again and again. I'm trying to try this way and try that way and try. Sometimes you may call the child to Islam or to the good things, and the child is not listening at all. But you think he's not listening, but in the back of their mind, they are storing stuff from you. Like some words of yours are going to the back of their mind. It's going to come back later. It's going to come later. You understand? And again, me as a teacher, I do that. Sometimes in my class, I have kids that I know don't care about Islam, don't care about me, don't care about the class. They can care less if me and the class just disappear out of the world. They don't care at all. No matter how much I show them that I care, they don't care. But what do you do with this? You be patient. You understand? Be patient. Sometimes halfway through the year, these terrible kids become the best kids. Sometimes the worst kids become the best kids, but you have to be patient. You just have to wait. You don't know when Allah is the one who guides. Maybe Allah has a specific time for them that he's going to bring them back to Islam. So you need to just stay the course. Stay the course. My kid is so bad. He did so many bad things. I'm done with him. We're going to cut him off. If you're going to cut your kid off, who's going to take care of, who's going to be there for this child? And I'm not talking about give them money and food and drink. I'm talking about who's going to be there to support them, to support their religion, to call them to good. If you're not going to be there, who's going to do it, right? The child comes and, he said, like I give you the boyfriend, girlfriend example or whatever. This is obviously, it's a later on for somebody who has an older child or whatever. And then the parent's solution is cut them off, cut her off. We're done with them. You're not going to speak to them again. So what are you doing now? Or the person said, like the child said, I don't want to be a Muslim anymore. I'm leaving Islam. I just had a case that came to me yesterday about a high school student, a girl, 9th grade. She's an atheist. Like one of my students reached out to me about her yesterday, right? She became an atheist, the girl. Nobody knows, like her family, just her brother. But how would you deal with that? You cut them off? So if you cut them off, what are they going to become? A stronger atheist, a bigger atheist, a worse atheist. So do you need to be there? Is it better for you to try to work out things with them? To show them that you have a door open and you care about them and you love them and you want good for them and they continue to call them? Absolutely. Absolutely, that should be the way. Isn't that the way of the prophets? What did you do with the people who disbelieved in them? What did you do? Did they stop and give up, or they continued? They continued. That is the way of the prophets. And that's the way we should do, again, as parents. Being gentle is a super important thing. You heard about the Prophet ﷺ coming to him, a man, while he's in the masjid, a very famous story, you probably know it, right? A man, after they finish the prayer, a man comes and he starts to urinate, right? He pees the man right where the imam is prays, right? In a mihrab area, right in the front where the imam prays. The guy goes to do his business right there. Now, and the companions are going crazy. They want to kill this guy. How could you do such a thing in the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? But guess what the Prophet alaihi wasallam do? He said, leave him, let him finish. That's what he tells them, let him finish. I want you to, I'm not telling this for the entertainment of the story. I want you to look at this and look at yourself. When your kid does something crazy, right? What do you do? How do you act? And look at the best of mankind, how he acts, right? So when he saw, and this is the way we should go about things. So he urinates in the masjid and he said, leave him until he finished. The guy finished completely. And then when he finished, the guy was frightened, by the companions, what they were doing to him. And, the Prophet ﷺ said, leave him. And anyway, spoke to him after. He said, this is a masjid. We pray here. We don't do these things here. We're here to, this is used for praying, remembrance of Allah and so on. Okay. So that's it. That's how he taught him. He didn't yell at him. He didn't like, what's wrong with you? Where do you come from? And this guy's a Bedouin. He doesn't know any better. But that's how gentle the Prophet ﷺ was with him. Okay. Take a look at another story. The Prophet ﷺ, while he's praying, he's in the salah, and behind him is the companions. They're in the salah. One of the companions sneezes. So he says what, he speaks, so he says Alhamdulillah, and the other guy is saying to him, Yarhamkumullah. Okay, another companion says to him this. So he spoke in the salah. He spoke in the salah out loud, like spoke loudly in the salah. But the companions look at him, like, they're looking at him and nobody's speaking to him because they're all already in the prayer. So he's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me for? He doesn't know that the words, you're not allowed to speak in the salah. Okay. So then they start like slapping their thighs, like, be quiet, stop talking. And the man is, he's like getting angry. He's like, he doesn't understand what's wrong, right? He's getting frustrated. Anyway, he finished the prayer. The Prophet ﷺ called him. And what did he say to him? The man who's narrating, like who had this incident, he said, I've never seen a teacher better than him. He's saying this, the man that was yelled at by the companions or like had the altercations with them. He's speaking in a prayer. Like, I've never seen a more gentle, a great teacher than the Prophet ﷺ. And he's like, he did not yell at me. He did not hit me. He did not do anything. He just said this in this prayer, there's no speaking. The words of the people are not being uttered in the salah. You can't speak the words of the people in the salah, right? That's all he said to him. That's it. Okay, that was the advice. That's it. It's so gentle and so soft. Again, do you do that if your child did something grieve, something big? What do you do? How do you act, right, with it, right? And this gentleness made him, give him such a high status, trust from people. So when he would say something, they would listen to him because of the gentleness that he has. Listen to this one, and I really want you to listen to this one. This one is the biggest one. A man comes to the Prophet ﷺ. He says, give me permission to fornicate, to have sex outside of marriage. Give me permission. So the Prophet ﷺ, he doesn't freak out, nothing. He says to him, would you like that to happen to your mother? Somebody to do this to your mother? He says, no. He said to your sister, to your aunt, to your grandmother, to your daughter, to this, such and such and such. And he goes down the list. He says, no, 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 no. So then he says in the end, the Prophet ﷺ is telling him, like, likewise, the people don't like this to happen to their moms. They don't like this to happen to the sisters. They don't like this to happen to their cousins. And so on. He just goes on down the list. The point is, at the end, he made dua for him. And then the man left. Could you imagine a man coming to the Prophet ﷺ? He says, hey, I want to have a boyfriend. I want to have a girlfriend. Just like, just like that. Right? And how did he act with it? How would we act with it? A parent who's discovering something like, my child is doing such and such thing, something grieve, something big. How is the parent acting? You see that they were different. They were different. The Prophet ﷺ is way gentle. And that's how he gained grounds with people. And I tell you this, I use gentleness with my students, and it works 100%. It works 100%. People have came up to me with the worst things you can imagine. The parents had no idea, but they told me. And that's not because I have special powers or anything, but they had trust. They trusted me to tell me, right? They felt open enough to come and speak about it. So that should be you, whether you're the mom or the dad, you could do it, right? Practice what you preach, right? I can tell you so many times, right? A parent, telling the kid, don't lie, but the parent is lying in front of the kid. Don't curse, and the parent is cursing in front of the kid. The parent is telling the kid, pray, and the parent himself or herself, she misses the prayer or he misses the prayer. What kind of teaching is this? How can I be a caller to anything if that's me, right? And Allah, blamed these people. And the Prophet ﷺ told us about the punishment of these people. He says, oh, you who believe, why you do that which you don't, why do you say that which you don't do? Okay, you're calling people to something you don't do yourself, right? It's a grieve sin to do such a thing, right? To call people to something that you don't do yourself, right? So that's why we need to practice what we preach. We're calling them to something. You must be practicing this thing before you call them to it. You tell them, don't do this. This is not allowed. But if you're doing it yourself, don't call them to it, because you struggle with it yourself. You can't ask, because then your credibility is gone. Your credibility is gone. Like, they won't trust you. They can't listen to you. You can't trust you. You want me to do something, and then you tell them what? Oh, I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. You're a kid, so you can't do what I'm doing. So I'm doing the not allowed things. You cannot do it. When you become an adult like me, then you can do all the not allowed things. Is this a way of teaching? Do you think this is going to be fruitful? Yeah, they can listen to you now, and because they're scared of you or whatever, or because you have authority. But once they hit teenage years, it's over. It's over for you, because they're going to get their power back, and you're not going to have a say over them, and you're going to lose them. And they have no respect for you. Why? Because you are the person who said to them, don't lie. But when somebody called on a phone, tell them I'm not here. You told them, don't lie. So that's a big issue. That's a big issue. Practicing what you preach. And the Prophet ﷺ, he says that I saw a person in hellfire, going around hellfire with his intestines, all of it out of his stomach, dragging it, and who is this person? The person who used to call people to good and not do it. And the people come to him and say, you used to call us to good. How come you're here in hellfire? And the person says, I used to call you to good, but I didn't do it myself. So obviously, clearly, we don't want to be from that. Okay. Perfecting the manners. Again, this is another important thing, how you deal with the children, right? Having good manners in the way we're dealing with the children. We're dealing with them with good manners, right? We have nice etiquettes, the way we're speaking to them. They say this is especially for the younger kids. When I was teaching first grade, second grade, third grade, in person, not online, the teachers would tell you, whatever tone you're going to use is whatever tone the kids are going to use in the class, right? So if you want the kids, like one of the things like that we were we try to do in our classes is that you told the kids use a quiet voice, use your quiet voice. Don't, the younger kids are very loud. So you have to model to them how you want them to be. And that kind of goes into the previous point, also practice what you preach, right? So when I would speak, normally I'm a little bit loud with my students so they can stay focused. But with these guys, I have to bring the tone down, because the way I'm going to speak is the way they're going to speak. So my manner, they became like a mirror to my manners. The way I'm going to act is the way they act. So if you are harsh, the children pick up this from you, right? If you are mean, if you are a sarcastic person, if you have good manners, when you talk to your kids, that's what the Prophet ﷺ was with his kids, right? He would call them, or like even the young people at large, we call them, make dua for them before they leave, ask Allah to, make you righteous, or do this or do that. Ask making dua for them, put his hand on their head or on their chest and make dua for them. Nice, beautiful manners. He gets up for his daughter Fatima when she comes, and he lets her sit in his place. Special treatment. He's walking the streets and he finds little kids and he stops and shakes everybody's hands, the little kids' hands, because they're important to him. They're somebody's. He wants them to make them feel like they're somebody's, right? And it should be like that. It should be like that. But having these good manners is, of course, crucial for any person who's calling to Islam to have these beautiful manners. Because sometimes in Islam, we're very artificial nowadays. We're very artificial. Like, for example, we think that you want to be a good Muslim, then pray and fast and such and such and such. This is what Islam is about. But the Prophet ﷺ, he says the heaviest thing on a scale is what? What's the heaviest thing on a scale on the day of judgment? Good manners. Good manners, right? When he's told about a lady who was, he used to fast during the night and, I'm sorry, used to fast, constantly do extra fasting. And she used to pray during the night, extra prayer. So he should not even pray in the regular prayers or fasting the regular fasting. She should go going above and beyond. But this lady is harmful to her neighbor. He said she's in the hellfire. And when he talked about another lady, she barely pray the 5 days. She just prays the 5 daily prayers and fasts Ramadan only does the obligation, but she's good to her neighbors. He said she's in Jannah. So what does that mean? The inside is maybe more important than the outside. They're both important, right? Because some people are like that. They're like, oh, I'm not going to pray or fast or anything like that. What's important is what I do on the inside that be good to people. Obviously, we're not saying that. We're saying the actions, that good deeds are important, absolutely. But the manners is the essence of the religion. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, the sole reason I was sent is to perfect manners. I was sent to perfect manners. That's why I was sent, right? So these acts of worship, it may look like Muslims and, we have like, we're looking hijabs or, beards or whatever, but the manners are terrible. And that's not Islam at all. That is not Islam. That's not the Islam of the Prophet ﷺ. So anyway, these manners have a great effect on the children, have a great effect on the children. By the way, if you have any questions or comments or anything, you can throw it in the chat box, inshallah. We will have all the questions at the end, but if you do have something while we're going by, we can address it as we're going. We're almost done with this, inshallah. Then we can discuss any questions or concerns you have at the end. Okay. Next is be humble. And this one is very, very crucial. You as a parent, you did something wrong. You called your kid to something and that was not right. Would you be able to admit I am wrong and I am sorry to your own child? Would you be able to do that? I just had a teacher, one of the teachers in my school, one of the schools I'm teaching in, and that teacher had all of the girls in the school, right, in high school, complaining about him. He's doing something to them. This person is being sexist with them, is being mean to them, is hurting their feelings. All of the girls have the same complaint. They were talking to me, right? And again, this goes a long way. Me as a caller, I'm trying to have my door open so they feel comfortable enough to speak to me about things that have nothing to do with my own class, right? And they did. And they come and tell me about this teacher. They have such and such and such a problem. And they try to speak with him individually. Every girl try to speak to him. Brother, we're having this issue, such and such and such. He won't admit to anything. So I give them the idea. All of you get together and go speak to the teacher. All of the girls get together, go speak to the teacher. Because there's going to be an overwhelming evidence for him that he cannot deny, right? And if that were to happen, then he should listen to you. And that's what he did. And guess what? You think he listened right away? He didn't. He was denying it the whole way. All the way at the end, then he confessed. It's like, it seems like there's so many of you, okay? It seems like I'm doing wrong. So inshallah, I will try to change. The point is, do we as adults, right, as parents specifically, are you ready to humble yourself and say, I'm wrong in front of your child? Right? And say, I don't know. Like, are you okay with saying, I don't know? I don't know this thing at all. I don't know about this thing. Let's ask somebody else because I don't know. Are you okay with saying this in front of your child to show that you don't know, that you're small, that you're tiny, small human being? Or do you have to always appear as, I am the big parent? You have to listen to me in everything because I am the great. I am the awesome parent, right? Absolutely, that's not from Islam whatsoever, right? And the Prophet ﷺ says the one person who humbles himself, Allah raises them in ranks, right? And of course, this is from the characteristics of the believers is that they're humble, right? And that's how the companions were. That's how the Prophet ﷺ was with the companions, right? Humble with them. When you were to see him, like, when he first came to Medina, him and Abu Bakr coming together, they didn't know which one is the Prophet, him or Abu Bakr. Why? He didn't wear any special clothes. He didn't act in any special way. Like, he was just a regular person. Like he, acted like the people. Right? He stepped on a floor, just normal person, like a simple, not even normal person, very, very humble person, right? Somebody comes and yell at him or tell him that you're wrong. Some people came like at different occasions, coming to tell the Prophet ﷺ, you're wrong. You're wrong. And guess what he does? You think he yell at them or throw them out? He said, I'm wrong? How could you say I'm wrong? I'm never wrong. Imagine if your child come and say that to you, like, you're wrong about such and such. Say, maybe you can teach them like the proper way you speak. Don't say it like such and such, but will you take it? Will you listen to the child? Does his opinion matter or her opinion matter to you? Right? If they're right, what are you going to do if they're right? Are you going to listen to them now and admit that you were wrong? Or are you going to say, no, I'm the great parent, I never do anything wrong? So being humble is a crucial thing for you as a caller to a path, right? Extremely important. Okay. All right. I am done, inshallah. If you have any questions before we get to the questions, actually, we are postponing the parents program until further notice. I don't know the exact reasons, but that's from the administration. So inshallah, this is going to be the last session for now until let me know otherwise. But inshallah, anyway, if you have any questions, please go ahead and send them in the chat box, or any concerns or comments, anything you want. You can take the mic as well. That's absolutely fine. And then we can address them right now. It could be about the topic or outside of the topic, anything you want. It doesn't have to be about the topic.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Kari.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah. I just wanted to know if this session and the previous one was already recorded. We can have access to them even after today.
Everything is recorded. Yes, that is correct. Yes, they're all recorded. They are on the channel, as well as we do have a copy of them in the Zoom thingies as well. But yeah, they are on the channel on the YouTube. Yes.
Jazakallahu khairan.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions? Comments? There's a lot more topics actually to be covered about this, and this is an extremely important program. But inshallah, I will discuss it with the administration further to find out what they like to do exactly. But there's a lot of topics to be covered, and this is an extremely important thing to do. Any more questions? Okay. How do you deal with jealousy between siblings? Okay. Well, obviously, this is something inevitable, right? It's a jealousy between human beings in general. All human beings want to have more. That's a human being nature, right? So if you see something, that's a social media is a destructive thing because of that, because people are looking at social media as like, oh, this person have more cars than me, has a beautiful house than me, that, a beautiful face more than me, or something. And it becomes a really destructive thing to the individual. So how can a person deal with this? The understanding what the world is really about and what is important versus what is like, which priorities, having the priorities straight would definitely help out with this jealousy thing, right? So they're happy, like understanding the fact that the more things you have in the dunya, the more things you're going to be questioned about in the hereafter. That's a beautiful thing to install inside the children's mind. For example, you want to have a nice PS5 and the hovering board and whatever, all of these things. The more things you have, the more things you're going to be questioned about. You want to be a talented person like such and such person and that person and such person, these kind of things. The more you have, the more you're going to be questioned about on a day of judgment. And the less you have, the less you're going to be questioned about on a day of judgment. So having this understanding is beautiful, right? The people who have more will be questioned more. The Prophet ﷺ told us that the poor people enter Jannah half a day later than the rich people. How long is that? 500 years. That's not because the rich people are bad people. No, that's because the poor people have less to be questioned about. It's just like when you file your tax return. If you are a very rich person and you have a lot of property, you're going to have a big stack of paper filing thingy for your taxes, or maybe like huge folders back to back, versus if you are a person who just works one job and makes, little money, what are you going to have? I have this tiny, small 2-paper tax return. You don't have much to be questioned about. Similarly, on the day of judgment, that's the same thing. 500 years, the poor people enter before. So being the person who have less is better than the person who has more. So giving this understanding to them would go a long way. with the jealousy with everything, or thinking about good deeds versus bad deeds. It's like, if you give this to your sister or your brother, Allah gives you good deeds. Like if you bring happiness to a person, whether he's a Muslim or not, bring happiness to a person, lift a calamity from a person, Allah, this is a good deed. If you help a person with their belongings, it's a good deed, a charity. It's like, really? So me giving my toy to my brother is a charity because he's crying or he wants it? Yes, it's a charity. So teaching that, like, you'll find them competing over giving. Hey, take my stuff. You take it. You win. You won. That's good. I'm happy you're happy. Like, I'm not happy that I'm happy. I'm happy you're happy. This is a beautiful understanding, to be selfless. But again, comes from you. Are you training them on this? Are you pushing this? Because if you do, you hear this from some of the mother of Imam Shafi. I used to tell him what, when he's playing and stuff like that. As a child, she comes and tell him, as a child, listen to this. She tells him, we're not created for playing. We are not created for playing, right? We're created, right, to worship Allah. We're here for a test. It's given this for a little kid. Can you imagine you go to a little kid who was 5, 6 years old, and you're giving this to him from now? It's like, hey, you see your toys? That's not why you're here. Do you know this or no? That's not why you're here. I don't want you to be too distracted with these toys. Don't make these toys your life, because that's from a young age. You're already giving them hereafter. You're giving them a drink of hereafter. This is why you're here. Pay attention. Our spaceship had broke on Earth, and we're trying to fix it to make it back to our home planet, which is Jannah. That's why we're here. You understand that? Yes, I get it. And you keep reminding her of this. Okay, so I believe that would be a great way if you deal with jealousy in such a way. Okay, do you teach Qaida to kids outside of the Muslim academy? I used to, not at the moment. I have like a lot of classes. So no, I'm not at the moment. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. Well, yeah, not at the moment. But I used to, yes. Last year, yes. I had more time, but not this year. Okay, how can we teach to share? Okay, 7 to teaching kids to share. I think I answered that. Did I answer that or no? I can elaborate a little more. How can I teach kids to share? Anyway, I'll elaborate a little more on it. Like, as I said, given the kids this idea of good deeds, like where you are competing over collecting. Kids love to collect things, just like all the human beings. When in my classes, when I used to teach the younger kids, I used to give children the tickets, like a raffle tickets. And with these tickets, they used to get, I had a prize bin. If you have tickets, then you can get one of my prizes or whatever. Kids used to love these tickets. They would go crazy, especially the younger ones, under maybe like first or fourth grade. They would love these tickets. Some of them would sleep and dream about these tickets. It was so important to them. But good deeds are like the tickets. Good. Maybe they can't see the good deeds, but like just understanding, or you giving them confirmation on like you're getting good deeds. Would like give your toy to your brother. Like, don't even share it. Just completely give it to him. It's like, here is my toy, and you demonstrating this to them is like, let's give this person's the thing that we like. This is from the, this from the sunnah, is that, on the Quran also is giving, like when you're giving a charity, you give them from things that you love. Like, here is the garment that I love the most. That's the one I want to give to the people. Like, I want to give to the person who is in need. Teaching this concept of giving, right? I don't care. We don't care about this world. If we don't have none of it, it doesn't matter. So this concept, and like this is again what, like living for the hereafter. This will be beautiful with sharing, or like giving things or whatever. Like we're working for good deeds. We're working for the hereafter. Giving people, you will get good deeds. You get something in return for it, but something that will be everlasting. Versus your toy that you're gonna play with it for 5 minutes. Does it matter? Now, obviously, the kids will forget this, right? So they'll do good for a couple of days, but then they're gonna forget it. It's like, no, I want to keep my things. I don't want to share anything with anybody. But then you install it again and again, and they see you demonstrate it, and it's like, let's go give let's make sandwiches and go give homeless people. Let's take some clothes and give it out, like these type of things. Or let's buy some things and give it to others, or even our family members, whatever. Let's give them our gifts. Let's give them some of the things that we like, that we have right now. Okay, things like that. We're definitely, you'll see it go a long way with these children, a long way with them. I hope that answers. Okay, any other questions? Sure, no problem. Take your time. If anybody wants to use the mic, go ahead. As I said, if you want to use the mic to ask anything, inshallah, go ahead. And it doesn't have to be about the topic. As I said, it could be about anything you want. And like I said, we're not really meeting until further notice. So let's just talk for a little bit before we end, inshallah. If you have anything. If the kids want to make wudu. Okay, if the kids said that, okay, I made wudu, but they didn't actually make wudu, obviously that's an issue that happens. And this is what it comes down to. You don't want kids that look like Muslims, but they're not Muslims on the inside. Your sole concern is building the Islam on the inside. And that's why, when we're teaching, the first thing that we teach in Islam is what isn't like in any Islamic studies class that you'll ever find, right? Or for the most part, that's what they're supposed to do. We never go into practice first, ever. We never start with wudu and salah and fasting and these kind of things, never. Halal and haram, we never talk about these things first, ever. The first thing you always talk about is belief, right? And you cannot get enough of talking about this because that's filling the inside. Because see, this is the thing that you want with and that's how you know you were successful with your child, is what, if you're able to install this one concept in your child, the concept of taqwa, that I am doing things not for my mom or my dad or my teacher or anybody. I'm doing it because Allah is watching, right? So if I'm doing, like, if they have this understanding, and if it matters, does it matter that Allah is watching? Am I fearful of Allah? Do I love Allah? Do I care about what Allah sees in me, or not? Because if you're gonna make it about you, hey, when I'm around, the parent, you have to be good, okay? But if I'm not around, you don't have to be good anymore. It's all about me. If that's the case, you're not gonna be around all the time, are you? No. Are you gonna be around when he's in school or she's in school, or when they go this way or that way? You're not. So it goes beyond wudu, really, right? So, but if I have this taqwa concept for them, they go to, they go to school, or they go to meet such and such person, or they're talking to such and such person. They're always remembering Allah. I'm not worried about them. I can throw this kid, I can throw that kid in the fire and that kid is going to do good. Why? Because I have filled his inside or her inside with Islam. They are filled with it. Not on the outside. Forget their outside. Okay, I'm not saying that what they do on the outside does not matter. It matters, of course, but the inside first before the outside. Because there's a lot of Muslims today that do acts of worship and appear as great Muslims, but they are not so great at all. And some of them even may be doubting Islam altogether. And they are deviant Muslims, but they look like great Muslims because of some things that they're doing, but you don't know what they're doing secretly and so on. So that's why, again, it comes down to this. Why are you making wudu? Because before teaching, wudu is important. Like, hey, we're making wudu to pray. Okay, why am I praying? Why am I making wudu? Why does it matter? Who am I praying to? You're praying to Allah. Yeah, that's nice, but who is Allah? I need to know who this Allah is before I pray to him. You understand? And again, this is something that we don't, that doesn't matter when your kid maybe is like 4 years old or say like he's too young to understand some of the concepts. But as the child grows, he needs to be revisit this topic again. Who's Allah? Who you praying to? Why is prayer important? What happens if you don't pray? Like a lot of people are, what are you saying? What happens when you don't pray? Well, the Prophet ﷺ says the person who abandons prayer, prays nothing, he's out of Islam. That's what he told us. So you're telling your child that from now you're out of Islam. Like this a person who abandons prayer. Is that what you want? You want to be out of Islam? Is that what you want? Right? And again, it's not about you yelling at them. It's like, hey, did you pray? Get up and pray. It's not about you at all. You want it to be about Allah. It's not about you. So you want it to be like, I'm doing it for Allah. I'm not doing it for you at all. So linking this stuff to Allah, and even with the younger kids, you can do that. You can make them have taqwa. You can work on their taqwa. Make that your goal. Don't make it the goal is like, hey, make wudu when it's time for wudu. Pray when it's time to pray. Install the taqwa, and everything else will come naturally. That would be easy, because I'm making wudu for Allah. He's watching me. You're not in a bathroom. You don't need to be with me in the bathroom. Do you know that? Why? Because Allah is with me there. Okay. When I'm praying, if you left me in a room, I'm not going to act like I'm praying, because I don't. Some kids are like that. They pray without wudu and they're not even praying. They'll act out rak'ah when you open the door on them, but they're not actually praying. So you're clearly, again, that's why the concept of taqwa is more important than what they do on the outside to begin with. They're inside first. Fill that before you fill the outside. I hope that makes sense. Get started. This comes down to, okay, well, yeah, this comes down to one thing. What is that one thing? I'm going to tell you something. This was supposed to come in the future, and it's a big topic, but we'll just mention a bit of it. Which is what the technology, the amount of technology that children have access to now, the entertainment that they have access to, it makes it you're basically almost working against them. You're almost working against them to be in Islam or to go towards Islam. Because if I have access to some cool cartoons that's gonna do some superhero jumping around and some cool things that's gonna speak to my age, why in the world am I gonna sit here and listen to Alhamdulillah, Astaghfirullah, La ilaha illallah, and stuff like that? That's fun, and that's just like repeating things or listening to things, and some of it I don't understand. And why would I do that? Right? I have the two options. One is super amazing and it's I love, it's not good for me and it's gonna suck up my time. But the other one is, that's not as much fun. But if you make, and that's why, like I said, some of these technology are extremely dangerous to children. Okay. And I'm gonna give you the ideal situation. Not that you're gonna be able to do that. Okay. Not that you're gonna be, and I know some parents are not going to be able to do that, but I'm gonna just give you the ideal situation. Ideal situation would be the child does not have access to technology. I don't have access to cool TV or no cool TV cartoon stuff. I don't have access to YouTube for fun, but I do have access to, like, I don't know, playing physically or, like Islamic videos, for example, and things of that sort. You'll be able to direct things better. The problem is you put in a lot of power in the children's hands. I have a tablet that I can bring the entire world inside the screen, or a TV that I can flick through channels and I own it. It's mine, right? It's mine. You put a lot of power in their hand versus in yours, it seems to be limiting, your power or taking some of your power away, sort of thing. So shifting, because like you can tell the kids like, oh, this is important, we're doing it, the angels are going to surround us and things of that sort. And they're going to believe it. Obviously, they believe it. And they like, yes, we believe it. And we want to do it. Yeah, it's nice. Let's do it. The angels are surrounding us. That's beautiful. But it's not going to have a long-time effect, because the entertainment or the dunya will always win. The dunya, the worldly life, will always win over the hereafter in the heart of the human being. Unless the human being, like I said, you're able to, especially for children, it's very hard for them to have self-control. It's even hard for us as adults to have self-control. Imagine the children. So you need to give them less dunya. You understand? Give them less dunya available at their disposal. And again, I know this is difficult, but I'm telling you, there's almost no other way, because you want the kids to just work for the hereafter. A child that is 7 years old and just be focusing on the hereafter, but his heart is, sucking up dunya day and night. You understand? So that's why I'm saying to you that, again, I'm not saying it's doable, but this is the ideal situation, is that they have less of the worldly life at their disposal, right? And then they would have no other choice but to be working for the hereafter. And that's why, what is it with the poor person who doesn't have anything? I'm a homeless guy. I live under a bridge. Okay, I sleep on a cardboard. This is my life. What do you think I'm working towards? What do you think I'm working towards? This world or the hereafter? Clearly the hereafter. I have nothing here. I have nothing here. I don't own anything here, right? Take this example to the rich person. I'm a super rich guy. I have a cool Tempur-Pedic mattress with a remote and everything, my super cool TV. Am I staying up tonight? Yeah, absolutely. Do you think I'm going to wake up to pray Fajr in a masjid? No, I won't. Am I attributing my success to Allah or to my smartness? To my smartness. Okay, do I want to die? No, I absolutely don't. I have a lot of cool dunya here. I don't want to leave it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Think of this as a kid also. Think of this as a kid, you know? So giving the kid too much of this world, and again, we sometimes attribute, how do you take care of your child? By giving them everything. That's how you take care of them. Give them everything they want and everything they need. And you sometimes you're corrupting them. You are pushing them away. You are making them into a monster that's going to swallow this world and swallow you soon, right? So less dunya, even if you're well off, alhamdulillah, and many of us are, right? Compared to the back in the day world, right? Still give less dunya, even if you're able to get things or have access to things. Don't give them access to things, or lessen it. Lessen it. That will go a long way. Again, I don't know if this answer is ideal, but or if it's as doable as much, but it is what needs to. There is no, this one does not have there is no middle ground, because any middle ground to it, like I said, they were not going to continue in it. You know, the human being is in love with dunya. You're in love with dunya, so it's very hard to keep away from it. Anything else? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, inshallah, let's pause here. May Allah give you Jannah for attending. And then, as I said, inshallah, I will speak with the administration, but for now, the program is stopping until further notice. But once we restart it again, we'll reach out to all of you, inshallah, through the email and so on. Okay? I will, inshallah, I will. Allah make it easy. Okay. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.